All right, our guest today on the Plumbify Podcast is Luke Walsh. Luke is the CEO of TAPS, which stands for Trainee and Apprentice Placement Services. It's Apprentice, not Apprentices.
Apprentice.
Yep. And they host apprentices and trainees in the plumbing and roofing trades. Thanks for coming on, Luke.
Thanks, Evan.
Mate, I've got to, I don't know if you saw the Instagram post I put out the other day, but I asked people if they had any questions for you, and I've got to start, this will get serious in a minute, but I've got to start with the one that kept popping up, which is, why do you rate yourself so much at footy when you're no good?
Yeah, that's from someone that doesn't know footy. Clearly, hey?
I had to ask you that. Yeah. I had Joe and a couple of other, must have been your mates.
I bet there was.
Who do you play for?
Seaton Ramblers.
Ramblers, yeah,
sweet. Been there about 300 games. Had a year in Strath, that was good fun. A year in Bridgewater, and I love it. My kids are playing there and coaching, and
sick.
Good fun.
Mate, do you just want to start by giving us like an overview of TAPS and I guess what TAPS' role is within the plumbing and roofing industry?
Yeah, for sure. We had our 25-year anniversary last year, and when you go through our constitution, it's clear that 25 years ago there was some real issues around getting, I say kids, but people into the industry. There was a real shortfall, and that's where TAPS came on. The goal was to try and get more people in industry and strengthen industry. We've grown from, I think it was like 9 in our first year to, now we've got near on 450 people. So we've got a few apprentices just helping out some of our host employers that have, diversified a little bit. So we've got a couple of Sparkies out there and a couple of Fridgies, but generally, 95% is all, plumbing and roofing. So,
yeah. So 450, is that apprentices?
Apprentices and trainers, yeah.
How many people work at TAPS, you reckon?
17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 17.
Are you still up on Glen Osmond Road?
No, we've just moved to 708 Port Red Beverley. So we're running out of parking, and to be honest, the building had aged a fair bit. And the other thing is it's not ideal location to get kids. I can't say kids, but people coming in for interviews and testing. We might get 8 at a time, and they're coming from north, they're coming from south. Trying to get through to Glen Osmond Road was sort of tough. So now we're at Beverley, it makes it a lot easier down South Road. So,
that is a good central spot, easy to get to, isn't
it? Yeah.
Am I right in saying TAPS is basically structured as a non-for-profit?
We are, not-for-profit.
Can you run us through, I guess, how a non-for-profit organisation like TAPS works? Because I guess I'm asking because it seems like things like government funding are important to non-for-profit organisations, and I guess I'd love to understand who the stakeholders are in a company like TAPS and who you're reporting to and stuff.
Well, I report to a board. We all we've got 7 on the board: president, deputy, and I suppose they're not for profit, and I can only speak for TAPS, but not for profit. You still got to run it at a profit, but then you can reinvest that profit back into. We invest back into our kids and back into industry. So when you look at our TAPS Awards night, we put that on for 400, 500 people each year, and over my time, I can only talk over my time, but we've put a lot back into additional training for our apprentices and upskilling them, supporting them. We've got a wellbeing officer now. We've had that for near on 2.5 years, so sort of before anyone else sort of thought about it, and that was a fantastic move for us because the challenges that our apprentices are facing now are they're different to what they were when I started 17 years ago. The pressure and struggles that they're going through, having that wellbeing officer has been a great decision, and that's part of what we're doing is giving back and making sure that we can get these kids through as best we can.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to jump around a bit here. That's one of the questions I had, and it's going to, I guess when you say that the apprentices have different struggles, definitely everyone hears people say all the time, the apprentices aren't like they used to be.
Yeah.
Like everybody. Yeah. Now, do you think that, like, and personally, I've had a few apprentices come across my desk who, you know, for instance, been like bullied in the workplace and stuff, like, you know, not even just in the plumbing industry, but just people we hear about on the social media and stuff. So do you think we need to stop saying like our apprentices aren't built like they used to, and think more like, you know, how can we support them in a different way? Maybe we need to keep up with the times, because, yeah, like you said, the pressures they have now are maybe different to what they had 15 years ago. So I don't know if they're just built different, like people always say, or if it is just different times, we're not really keeping up with them.
I think they are built different, but if you know how to harness different, you're going to get just as much out of them. You know? So everything changes and evolves, doesn't it? And you can whinge about it, complain about it, or you can get on board and try and make the best of it. And I think there's going to be advantages and disadvantages of having the old school apprentice and the new age apprentice. They're going to be safer. They're going to a hell of a lot more safer than what they were 15, 20, 30 years ago. You know? And then, you know, if you had that old school apprentice now, you look at the injuries you're going to have, you look at the lawsuits you're going to have, you know, the quality of work, the detail is probably going to be much higher now than it was some time ago. So, yeah, they're built different, but if you can find a way, as I say, to harness that and make the most of that, you're going to get just as much out of it. But you just got to think differently, right? You know, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's wrong. You're not going to get any better. You know, you just got to change and evolve with it. That's sort of where I'm at.
Can you think of like any of the, you know, examples of what they are, like the challenges are different these days? You know.
Oh, look.
Obviously, social media. My
personal view, social media. You know, everyone. I'm not a. We use it every day at work. Right? I can see the advantages in the cut through and how you can interact with people, because that's how kids talk. I've got a 14-year-old. Doesn't talk to his friends. You know, Snapchat or whatever else. You know, but that's how they all do it. Yeah, that's how they're all doing their thing. So yeah, social media, in my opinion, is the negatives. Is you flick through and you see all your friends and, you know, friends. You know, you got 500,000-600,000 of them, whatever it is. You know, you're flicking through. You're seeing the holiday. You're seeing the car. You're seeing the house. You're seeing the smiles. You know, I was talking to someone yesterday who was our accountant yesterday, and he said, I had the same conversation with him, and he said, I can see what you're saying, because I went to a party with my wife, and you know, it was shit. It was horrible. It was the most boring party ever. And we're driving home, and she's got the, you know, Facebook up, and someone's posted, and there's balloons and there's smiles and you know, everything's going on. You look at that and it looks like the best thing ever. Now, as you're flicking through, without even knowing it, you're comparing yourself to everyone else. No one's putting up themselves, you know, mowing the lawn in footy shorts, are they?
Yeah.
Or that bad hair day, it doesn't go up. It's not real life. So I think that's a challenge, and it's not the kids' fault. It's not this generation's fault, but that's what they've got. They don't know that car's probably leased, you know. But that family's house is, you know, they've probably got a mortgage of 1.2 and they can't afford it every week. But there's smiles in front of the house. Right. So that's sort of where I see it. You got to take it for what it is, you know. And for me, Instagram is flicking through funny stories and, you know, funny videos. I don't compare myself to other people, but when you grow up in that environment, I can see how people do. You know, and that's where the challenges come from. It's not real life. Yeah,
definitely. There's a lot of comparison problems, isn't there? I think that they have.
Yeah. You always want what someone else has got. Well, do you? You don't know what they got. Don't compare yourself to someone else. You be you. You be true to you. You know.
That's good advice. Can you? We spoke in the car like last week when we were talking about doing the podcast, and I'd love for.
We weren't in the same car.
No, a different car. No. Would you be able to just give us an insight into, like, I guess, what, you know, how we're speaking about the employment rates being so low and how everyone's fighting over that, like, basically 1%. Can you just explain how that is working at the moment? Because I think everyone is in the same boat at the moment.
Again, this is my view, right? And I spent a few years working in was it job prospects, working with unemployed people, trying to get them back into work, you know, many years ago, and you know, we're sort of working with an unemployment rate at the moment of, I think it's like 3.6 or 3.7%. Now, there's probably 2% of that will never work. Generational unemployed, for whatever reason, they don't want to work. So we're all fighting for that 1.7%. Now, traditionally, we might have a 5.7, a 6.7, a 7.7 in the past. So the labour available, or the people interested and willing to work available, has been much higher. So it's you can sort of be a bit pickier, or you can throw more challenges at people and make sure you get the right people that you want. Whereas now, it's shifted.
Yeah.
Now there's this 1.7% that we're all fighting for, which makes it really tough out there. So finding ways of attracting them, and the benefit of it is, I think we all need to be better employers, and we're all fighting to be that employer of choice now. So it's shifted. The power is with the job seeker instead of the employer. Now that balance should probably be a little bit more even, eventually, but at the moment the power's with them. So we need to make sure that we're role models and that we're good employers, so that we get some of that 1.7%. Yeah.
And how are you seeing at the moment? Is there still a pool of kids?
There is.
Yeah.
You just got to fight for them,
Yeah.
and you look harder.
Yeah.
And there was a long period of time where we didn't have to go and talk to every school. We didn't have to go to every career night. They would just organically come to us. And now, and it's learnings as well. So even in the good times, we've now learnt that we should be going out there and spreading the word, and we should be going to as many career nights as we can and talking to as many kids as we can. So you learn as you go.
Yeah,
right?
so it's forced you guys to level up, and the employer to level up as well. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
you just got to keep learning and evolving, and you get there, I think.
Do you see any, speaking to that, do you see any similarities in companies that you guys work for that host apprentices that do really well in regards to attracting, I guess apprentices these days? Are they putting in different initiatives, or is there anything you can see that people are doing better than others that are giving them a bit of an edge?
I can only talk for us, and as much as I said I hated social media before, it's how we do it.
Yeah.
We've got, and I can see that when we do certain things, and you'd probably appreciate this, it takes a lot of time to get the algorithms right.
Yeah, it does.
To get it right and get the cut through to the right people. But that's sort of a big thing for us, is trying to find those right people through those channels and use them to your advantage. I can't talk to how the people do it. I don't know how many people that they're getting apply each week, or how many they can convert to employees, or how it works. But from our point of view, and when that doesn't work, you just got to try something different. You can't complain about it.
Yeah,
you just got to move on and try something different.
So you guys do roof plumbing and plumbing.
Yeah.
How are you finding the pipeline to that? Seems low.
Roof plumbing's tough. It's tough. And again, I wouldn't make it as a roof plumber, right? I'd put bloody dents in it. So that cuts me out and probably a heap of other people. I looked after roofers for a long time, and we haven't got this right yet. I'm still working on it. But I think, your surfers and skaters and people like that are ideal to the trade. They're balanced, they're light, they don't mind the heat, they don't mind, a bit of rain like that. Trying to find that right balance for us. But yeah, the numbers of applicants for roof plumbing is certainly dropped from what it once was. Yeah.
What do you think? What do we need to do better? Because honestly, obviously I'm a bit biased because I have a roofing side of the business now, but it's the way I'm seeing it is like the big three, what people would say trades of carpentry, electrical and plumbing still seem to have a really good pipeline of kids coming through, but it's like the lesser known trades, like obviously bricklaying and roof plumbing is one of them. But there's so many opportunities. Like these guys are getting paid big money now just as a employee. What do you think we need to do better, Luke, in regards to getting kids? Most kids wouldn't even know what roof plumbing is. That's the problem.
It's a long-term process from our point of view, but going out to those schools and going out to those career nights and and spreading that word, albeit it's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's probably where we can do it and continue to do it, and our role. But I don't know, if you've got the choice of any job you want at the moment, you know, you can go pick any job you want at the moment, you know, and what gets advertised is, what gets advertised is the big three, and that's where they go. I don't have the answer. I wish I had, because you know, we'd probably have another 50 apprentices, you know, in roofing on board.
I mean, following on from that, what would be your, I know it's a hard question to answer, but if you got 30 roofing apprentice applicants tomorrow, do you reckon you could fill all those positions?
I reckon we could.
Yeah.
I reckon we could.
So I actually really worry for the roof plumbing trade going forward, because there seems to be a enormous lack of roof plumbers out there. Like I'd love someone to be able to give me the data on it, but it must be low, man.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a tough job in some regard, but it's also like I said, there's so much opportunity, and they're getting paid massive coin now. You know?
And the other benefits are, you know, come summertime, you know, you start work at 6 and you finish at 11, and you go for a surf, you go for a skate, you know, because it's too hot to be on a roof. You know, in winter, if it's raining, you're inclement weather, you're going home. So that maybe we have to sell those benefits. I don't know. I don't have the answer, and when you get it, let me know.
I'm trying everything, man. I really am. Would you have any advice for you could give to people out there, like obviously young kids, I suppose, that might potentially be looking to start a roofing or plumbing apprenticeship, and following on from that, do you have any like advice for current apprentices out there wanting to be successful in their trade? I guess that's a 2-part question, but
don't expect people to do it for you, right? So and you would have experienced this. You can have 2 apprentices that start on the same day at the same time. You know, it's things like tools. And I used to say this when I was doing inductions. You know, an apprentice rocks up with a shovel. You know, what's he going to do all day? He's probably going to dig. Right? That's where he's useful, because he's got a shovel. The same the other apprentice that rocks up on the same day and he's got a full toolkit. You know, he's going to be able to get different work. He's going to be able to evolve and learn more. You know. That's the onus on the apprentice sometimes. Don't expect it all to be given to you. You've got to think ahead, and you've got to do your part and play your part in the process. Don't win to the end and say, I haven't learned anything, when you haven't put in the extra steps along the way. You know, if you're comfortable, you know, doing one thing all day, and you don't work hard, and you rock up late, and you do all the wrong things, and then expect it all to be given to you at the end, it doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. And I don't care if it's a generational shift or not. It's the same back then, it's the same now. You work hard for something, you get luckier. You know what I mean? You work hard for something, you get the rewards at the end. And that's the advice I would give you, is don't expect it to come. Don't expect it all to happen. You've got to play your part and do your bit. Yeah.
So do you think, and from a current people already in an apprenticeship and the guys you see coming through that see success and are the best apprentices, what sets them apart? Obviously that's probably one thing that you touched on there. Is there anything else that you could say that sets the best apprentices out from the ones that sort of just scrape by?
It's all the little things. It is getting there 10 minutes early instead of and not expecting to be paid for it, you know, just showing that you can, you know, rather than expectation that, you know, I start at 7, you know. Get there at 10 to 7 so you can get organised for your day. That's on you. It's all the little things. I used to talk to this is something I miss about my job is not seeing the apprentices as much as I did. But when you're driving in the van with the tradesman from one place to the other, instead of sitting there flicking on your phone, ask the tradesman about what you're doing next. You know, what's the next job? Or what did you do when you were apprentice? Start a conversation and learn something in that 15, 20 minutes rather than flicking through your phone. You know, these are all little things that add up. You know, what's our next job? Next job is, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Change the taps, right? So the apprentice gets out the car, tradesperson goes to the front door. He's already got the toolkit and all the stuff he needs to go do the job, because he had that conversation. These are all little things that impress people, little things that show that you're as committed as the person that's giving up their time and skills to train you. You know what I mean? For me, it seems only fair.
Yeah.
You know, it's that buy-in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's definitely like attitude is just like clear. Like from my perspective, is that's just what sets apart the ones that do really well from the ones that don't. Is like comes majoritively down to attitude, I think. And flows through to everything else. Yeah.
But just thinking on the spot, maybe we need to find better ways of engaging. Those tradespeople. Do they need to find a better way of engaging this generation in that car? I don't know. It's got to be both ways. Do you need to find better ways of engaging with these young kids? Do I? Let's not throw it all back on them either. We've all got to keep changing and evolving to make it work.
Yeah. This is a question I wasn't prepared to ask this, but I just thought of it because I sort of asked the same thing to Andrew Clark when he came on the podcast, a few weeks ago. And it comes from, I've got a few mates who have partners or owners or whatever in big plumbing companies. I won't mention who they are, but big, have a lot of apprentices. And I think one of the problems that we're seeing, and I feel like it's definitely more of late than it used to be, is, when you put on a first year apprentice, and the apprentice doesn't see it from this point of view, but for us it's a 2 or 3 year investment. And then they get to their third year, and they turn around. I don't know if you guys have experience in this, but seems to be pretty prevalent. They turn around and they go, actually, I want to go and work with my mate over at Bob's Plumbing. And then, I know that from the host employer's perspective, they don't really have much pull where they're like, hey, mate, I've just put 2 years of investment into you. And they do have this ability to sort of pick and choose wherever they go before that host employer gets their investment back, I suppose. Like, are you seeing this? Because I'm hearing it a lot from my mates.
We're seeing it, but we also don't get walked over either. There's conversations and there's a balance with everything. And if there's genuine reasons why, if that host hasn't got the diversity in the work, okay, that's probably a fair enough reason. But it's not I want to move. Yeah, okay, no worries. It can't be. Yeah. It can't be. Yeah. So it's, again, everything, life's balance, but
it's a tricky balance for you to strike, because at the same time, like, you want to also look after the host employer, but like you said, you've got to take both perspectives into account when you make the decision. It must be hard to sort of navigate that, because
and sometimes it's because the apprentice hasn't got the confidence or the skills or communication to talk to the host, but they can talk to one of the fieldies, and the fieldies can be the mediator, or the one in the middle that can maybe put that that spin on it, or that a better way of communicating it to the host. Then okay, no worries, why didn't he say so? So we are in the middle, and it's not all for the host, it's not all for the apprentice, it's about finding that right balance.
You spoke before about initiatives, and earlier on about that you guys have that's supporting apprentices in training and that. Can you go through some of the things that you guys implement through the 4 years to help an apprentice at TAPS in particular to be successful?
Look, we've got our wellbeing package, and as I said, with Richie Walsh, who's our wellbeing officer, he's always available, and he's doing a really, really good job. Our field officers have Ricky, Mario, Joe, and Sean. Joe's been around for 15 years. He was my host. He was yours, yeah. He's been around 15 years. I think Sean's about 12. Ricky's an ex-TAPS apprentice, so he's seen it both sides, and he's been with us for 4. And I reckon Mario might be 7 or 8. So there's experience there, which is good, and I think good for the success of the apprentice, because it's someone that generally they care. I know they care. They might be harsh at times. They might be, I don't know, whatever, but they genuinely care, and they want to see the best for the apprentices. We've got some gym memberships that we offer, so some discounted gym memberships. We've got a corporate package for apprentices, and that's the idea behind that is it works both ways. Is we know that kids are going to the gym. I keep saying kids, right?
Yeah,
apprentices.
The way, yeah.
Apprentices are going to the gym, so we've got a corporate package with Good Life. Makes it a bit cheaper for them, but from our point of view, we're hoping to build, whether it be big, strong, fit, people, which leads to less injuries. right, leads to better mental health, because we know that physical activity, it helps mental health, helps aids mental health. So it works both sides. We've got some driving courses available. So we've found a few first years they need to get in the van. It's a manual. They can't drive it, so we put them through a course. So rather than everyone do everything, we sort of have a look at every situation that comes up and see what we can do and to help that. Often what we'll do with some of the more expensive ones, like whether it be front end loader or whatever else, if that's needed on site, we'll go halves with the host. Okay. They pay half, we pay half, and then go from there. So there's no number one reason why. There's just an attitude of, look, let's see what we can do and work together to try and make the best for people.
This also just popped into me. Do you? I'd love to hear from your perspective, because you obviously see, I don't know if you really do now, but I mean, you used to be a fieldy and you used to see a lot of kids come through. And this is obviously a question directly targeted at kids who might be thinking about doing plumbing or roofing. Could you think of some of the, the feedback you get from some of these apprentices about some of the best parts about doing a plumbing or roofing apprenticeship? Because I see a lot of kids who are at school and they're obviously so green, they wouldn't even know what one day on the tools looks like. So I think it's important for the kids to know what is actually wicked about doing a trade, doing a plumbing apprenticeship, roofing.
You haven't given me a lot of time to organise and think about these answers, but what sort of popped in my head straight away was a lot of plumbing, as you know, is kids think that they're just dealing with shit all day. They think that's what a plumber does. What would that be? Maybe 1%.
Yeah.
Maybe 1%, right? What I've seen happen through my time is they've come out of school, they've done their work experience, their eyes are open to what a construction site is, and feeling a part of a team, and being needed and using tools and hanging around with the people that've done it forever. It's pretty cool when you get in there. It is. And I don't know whether you appreciate that or not, but
100%.
It's like being part of a footy team. You go around and kick a ball to yourself all day. It's no fun. But when you're in the club, when you're with the team, whether you're with the boys or girls or whatever else, it's special. You probably don't appreciate it when you're doing it. But when you get to the end of the time, like I am with my footy, you start to really appreciate that. And that's probably what I thought of with the plumbing. With the roofing, it's the fact that you roll up to a site at the start of the day and all you see is timber.
That's a good point.
When you walk away, you put that roof on, right? You've changed the complete perspective of what that house is and what it looks like to everyone else that drives past that day. It's a finishing trade. If your screws aren't straight, it looks awful.
That's a good point.
It looks terrible. But when you walk away and take pride in what you do, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Roofing is one of the best trades, actually. I'm glad you said that you do get that job satisfaction, because
every day
there's roofers and then there's roofers. You see 50% of roofs are terrible, and then when you get the guys who really know what they're doing
and they care,
and they're training the apprentices, oh god, man, so there's nothing better actually than being it's 25 degrees, you're with a whole bunch of lads and you're just slapping on sheets with beats going.
It's like that old colourblind ad.
It's actually
what's that colourblind ad with the bloke that went out in his paper and he's standing there staring at it. Even better when you're the one that's put that on. You've done it.
100%. And I guess that's maybe plumbing has both sides, but a lot that's what can get lost. That's what's I guess are quite different from roofing to plumbing. Is roofing's almost always you see your finished work unless it's like a flat roof and you can't see the top. But plumbing, there's both sides where it's you're burying a lot of your work or whatever. So that is a good one actually. Now from I know you haven't prepared for this. I haven't given you the chance, but I guess it would be what comes to your head, and I don't know if it's right up your alley, but from a training perspective, TAFE I'm talking about, do you think we're doing well enough in that? Do you think we're keeping up with the trends, and are we teaching kids relevant things still?
It's it's like trying to turn the Titanic, right? It's a big system, and it's a national system, and you've got people in different states that have different agendas, and it has changed it.
Yep.
And I think the system could be a lot more flexible. You know, and TAFE's facilities, their people are excellent, but you know, we've got kids who are off in COVID, and when they could be doing some work on their TAFE instead of sitting there doing nothing, there wasn't really a lot of options for them. And on credit to TAFE, they tried to put some stuff together, but then they had to go back and do it again anyway because it didn't quite fit. So I just think a level of flexibility for the workplace as well. When you know you've got jobs that come up that have to be done, and you've got your kid going next week, it makes it tough because life, we've all had to be so much more flexible, and that's where I think the training system sort of needs to catch up a bit, and TAFE needs to catch up a bit, just so it's a bit more aligned with life and industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we, like you said, it's like turning on the Titanic though, it's hard to lobby for those, nothing's going to happen quickly, or? They're
aware of it, and I'm hoping behind the scenes that, you know, they are doing some things to try and, there's some great people trying to push and make these changes. It's just how long they take, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, not my spot to say. But yeah.
I know we'd sort of touched on it before, but from an employer's perspective, do you see any commonalities in your host employers that tend to produce the best tradesmen and foster their apprentices the best? Because I think that's an important thing for people to, you know, I'm sure there's some companies that are churning out just good apprentice after good apprentice, and there's some that aren't doing so well. Could you think of anything that in that space?
Look, I find with my staff in the office, the 17 I spoke about earlier, I think you've got to get buy-in and explain things. So you don't have to go into your P&L with your apprentice, but actually explain how things work. Explain that, you know, yes, you might be on $15 an hour, but there's this car, there's this phone, there's, you know, this petrol, this, and actually get them to understand and maybe treat them like an adult a little bit, so they can have a bit of a picture on how it all works and how they fit into that and why they're important in that. But the best tradespeople often are the ones that will generate the best apprentice too. You know, if you've got the level of skills and knowledge that you can pass on, it's going to be better than someone that doesn't. But I think treat people with respect, and you generally get the respect back. And if you don't get the respect back, when you do treat someone well, then they're probably not the right person for you. So yeah, treat people well, and I reckon it comes back to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I've got a question on sort of like, I guess where this question's coming from is like, I want to ask you something first. Do you know what like the data or stats are on like apprenticeship commencements versus completions?
It's across the nation, it's roughly 50-50.
Okay, so only 50% of people we start finish.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So, do you think we need, from a policy and maybe government initiatives sort of perspective, do you think we need to do better in regards to supporting apprentices because the way I'm looking at it is the cost of living definitely seems to be an issue that we're fighting with apprentices because they struggle to see 4 years ahead. So they're looking at like, well, I can go and make $15 or whatever it is as a first year apprentice, or I can go and wash dishes at the pub, work behind the bar for $30 an hour. But they're not seeing that, you know, what's going to happen after 4 years. So, but at the same time, Luke, is like they do have cost of living pressures right now that they can't solve without making more money. So what do you think in that regard? Like, do you think maybe a cost of living help is going to be something that helps that? Because that's a pretty average, you know, rate, I would have thought, that needs to improve, that commencements versus completions.
I don't think that's the only problem. I really don't. And our completions far exceed that 50%. You know, I haven't done it for a while, but we're probably about 85, maybe 90% in plumbing. You know, so is there things you could learn from group training or others like us that are helping that? You know, is it around support? Is it around having, wellbeing support? Our apprentices aren't getting paid any more than, Joe Blow down the road. They're on the same award, but our completion rate is much higher. So, but yes, I do appreciate the point about, cost of living. CITB have come to the party and helping with some tools. There's $1,000 at the end of first year, and there's measures that are being put in place to try and offset that. Whether that's enough, I don't know. But look, I do appreciate what you're saying. But is that everything? Probably not. There's more than one thing that sort of goes into right. We give them more money, they'll complete. Well, that's not going to be what happens. No, no, not in my opinion anyway. I think you got to look at the whole package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So group you touched on then group training. What are the benefits of going for a group training versus direct from an apprentice point of view and from an employer point of view?
From an apprentice point of view, you've got support for that whole 4 years. You do, and you've got someone who, and I'll go back to my time as a field officer, where apprentices, they tend to confide things when you build a relationship with them over a period of time. They'll confide things. They would tell me things that they did not want to tell their mum or girlfriend or dad or boss. They would see me once every 6 to 8 weeks. They trusted me, and I was a bit of a sounding board for them.
Yeah.
They didn't want to tell the guy that they work with every day and him have to deal with that every day. So that's certainly the thing from the apprentice's perspective. Knowing that you're going to get paid properly. You're going to get your super paid. You're going to get all your entitlements paid properly.
That's a big thing.
There's still people out there that aren't doing the right thing by kids. You're going to be provided with the tools to make sure that you work safely. No one wants to go to work and come home injured. That shouldn't be happening. So we still have injuries. We still have people that are hurting themselves. But there's tools, there's knowledge, there's support. Both provided to the host and to the apprentice to try and limit that, and manage that and manage it properly. Gone are the days of you wrap up your finger with a bit of duct tape, no, let's go get it treated properly and get it done and get you back to work properly. That's what you're going to get with us is, you're going to get it done properly. Yeah. From the host point of view, well, we've had a lot of father-sons over the period of time, and we're talking about one of them earlier. And they see the benefit because it adds just a layer of separation. So, that bit of a mediator at times.
Yeah.
So when you're working with someone closely every day, it's nice to be able to step back and get the ear and someone to listen and maybe give some advice on how that all works. Look, the flexibility, we know that the industry is up and down as well. That's no good for the apprentice or the host if they're stuck into a commitment of 4 years and they can't get out of it. So the flexibility of us is, as work goes up and work goes down, you can grow your business, or you can, ease a bit of pressure financially by, having that apprentice with us, and we can move them somewhere else. That might be for 2 years, it might be for 2 weeks until the next job comes in. So that layer of flexibility is certainly important. But I would also say that with us, I don't know what other group trainings do, but you pay for them when they're working for you.
Yep.
Right. You're not paying for them when they're off at TAFE and off on holidays, and it's all productive time. So your bill is coming when they're productive and hopefully making money for you. You're not getting a bill when they're off for 6 weeks of trade school. You got to keep forking out every week. So, and I think that gets forgotten at times when from hosts is, and look, TAFE's out at another 2.5 weeks. At the moment, that's wages. That's a big impact. If you're going to lose your first year for 4 weeks of 4 weeks of annual leave, maybe a week of sick leave, that's 5. Then you've probably got maybe 8 weeks of trade school. 13, 14 weeks out of the year. Yeah, you're being charged when they're working for you, but you're not getting that hit when they're not there. So that's probably the other thing I'd probably say for host employers to consider. Yeah.
Is that something host employers can do? Like if you've got say you got like a more of a construction style plumbing business, and you don't have any work for a couple of weeks, is there that ability to go to Taps and say, hey, look, can you just take, I really still love this kid, I don't want him to go anywhere, but can you take him for 2 weeks? You know, I don't know if it's something you want it to happen all the time, but
we can't do 450 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But from time to time, then absolutely, you know, give us a bit of notice, or you know, even it does happen weekly. It does. There might be, you know, might be one or two. There might be none. But when you're in a bind, then we can try and help you out, or we can try and organise some extra trade school. But you know, I would say out there to all apprentices and all hosts, you know, consider your host your boss. Treat them like your boss. You know, we need to be treated with respect, because you know we're paying your wage and we need to know what's going on. But treat your apprentice like it's your apprentice. You know, they're part of your business, and that's how you're going to get the best out of them as well. Not their, you know, that's just labour. You know, that's, you're not going to get the best out of people like that. You know, so treat them as your own. But if you get stuck, we're here. We're here to sit in the background and wait till you need a hand.
Female apprentices, I just want to touch on them because we just got our first one not long ago, and when I was doing my apprenticeship back like mid 2000s when I started, dude, it was just nobody. So I'd like to know from your point, like, what are you seeing? You know, what are the numbers now? Like, what is it? Is there been a pretty big increase in girls, females wanting to do plumbing apprenticeships, or?
I should have brought the numbers. Plumbing, not as much, right? Electrical, I was going through.
Electrical seems huge.
I went through some stats on last year, and look, I'm throwing numbers out there, right? But you know, it might be, there might have been 20 in plumbing, right? But there would have been 80, 100 in electrical. So, what's that telling us? Either we're not marketing and selling the story well enough in plumbing to females, or maybe they just like electrical more, and that's okay, right? So we can't all like the same thing, because we'd all be plumbers or we'd all be roofers and nothing else would be happening too. So we certainly are encouraging more. I think, look, we're probably about 10, I reckon. Love to have more, but we don't get the applications either. So
somewhere we need to be better. I would say, hey, like, whatever that better looks like, but marketing or whatever, because I'll tell you what, man, plumbing's really just as suited to a female as is to a male. As far as I'm concerned.
So maybe it's on us to market it better as the industry, to market it better. And hopefully we've got some stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks, because we had a new female, I think, starting with Hindmarsh next week. So we'll try and do some stuff around that. But do I have the answer? No, I don't. But certainly encourage more, because it's a great industry. I love this. I'm not a plumber, right? I'm not, but I feel privileged to be part of the industry, because it's just filled with great people. It really is.
It is.
You know,
I had a little story. I had a roofer. I'm asking you this because I'm seeing a pattern, and I don't know if you can answer the question or not. But I had a roofer who was going to start here this week on Monday. Signed a contract, everything. Then he pulled the pin via text message with me on a Friday on a Sunday, the day before he was meant to start, at like 4:00 in the afternoon. Right.
This whole podcast feels like me trying to solve your problems. You know what I mean?
It's am
I doing it for them or for you?
That's not. I just added that in. That's not my question. I just wanted to let you know so you could feel better. You could make me feel better. But what I'm seeing is a lot of roof plumbing apprentices who start I'm seeing a lot of roof plumbers who are actually only roof plumbing labourers because they've never got a roof plumbing licence. But a pattern that I've seen definitely is they start a roof plumbing apprenticeship, then they get talked out of removing themselves from the apprenticeship for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's money. And then they end up being a roofer, but then they don't have a roof plumbing licence. Have you seen any of that over the years?
Look, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that that's the problem out there, and that's a question for licensing, not for me. But you know,
I'm just seeing kids that have started with a group training mob for a year, and then they
see a Gumtree ad and then $30 an hour.
Or their boss actually says to them like, oh, you know, like for whatever reason, look, mate, you'd probably be better off just binning the apprenticeship, then I can pay you a bit more but then in the long run they get screwed over because they never actually got their ticket, but they are literally just doing roof plumbing.
Yeah.
I've just seen it a lot, and then they end up, we just try to, basically the only way we can employ them is as a roof plumbing labourer because they don't actually have a roof plumbing ticket.
Yeah.
But it's just something that never seen it once in plumbing, but I've seen it with all the resumes I've read from roofers that apply here or whatever.
Labourers.
That seems to be very common. I start and not finish.
Yeah, probably not for me to answer. We're at the other end of it, but what that's doing is it's lowering the value of the industry and lowering the value of the work. I mean, you can only learn so much out on site. You do have to go to TAFE or go to your RDO to get those finishing touches and those things you don't see. You only do that in apprenticeship. You don't get to do that on site all the time. There might be some lucky ones that do, but it's a disservice to the industry as a whole when that's happening, I think.
Yeah. And in Victoria, how there's no difference between a roof plumber and a plumber. Plumbers are roof plumbers as well.
Yeah.
Because I see this just huge issue going forward with roof plumbing, is there something, I know it's not going to work in all cases because you have to have a business like ours where it's plumbing and roofing, but I mean, for instance, I've got a few apprentices here that I'm thinking they do 75% plumbing, 25% roofing, but they are plumbers, plumbing apprentices. Is there something we can do better in regards to doing a dual apprenticeship, it's another year or something, and then they get both trades? I know it's not going to work all the time because there's not many companies that do plumbing and roofing and they need the training, but there's got to be something we can do, Luke, that can improve the amount of roof plumbers we have. I'm desperately trying to get my guys dual licensed, but I can't, man. No one can help me with it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
What do your guys want to be doing? We'll put it back on you. Do they want to be out there roofing?
They probably prefer plumbing, but I tell you what, if they had an opportunity to get a dual license
how
at the end,
valuable are they? Yeah.
They would be. Imagine the value they could have. But so my guys are keen to. My kids are keen to do it, but I can't seem to find anyone who can facilitate it for me. So I don't know if that's something that is just an avenue to look at, doing a dual.
I love you thinking outside the square. I don't have the answer. Probably a question for Andrew as well. He's sitting on a lot of boards that can probably throw that question in and see what can be done about it. But I don't know. But as I said, it's a great industry. It's a great job. We do need to find more. And I take on your point that we'll be at some desperate points in the next 5-10 years as those older tradespeople are them retiring. We're not filling the void that's required. Let's keep thinking and find out what we can do. I'm certainly not against.
We do something different, I guess. That's my point. Is just whatever we're doing right now, like you said before, if we keep doing the same thing, we'll keep getting the same results. So it's just need to be doing something different, whether it's looking at dual trading them or just something. Anyway, that might be something we can all look into. I guess I just wanted to wrap it up by saying schooling and the transition into apprenticeships, is there any breakdown between the school education system and then transitioning kids into the construction industry? Can we do better? How is that looking, Luke?
My views, right? Not the views of TAPS or industry or whatever else. My wife's a teacher, and I've got so much respect for teachers and what they have to do and what they have to put up with. Schools changed. From I'm a bit older than you, but not that much. And schools changed a fair bit from when I went to what it is now. I've also been at TAPS for 17 years, and again, I was talking to the accountant yesterday. I reckon average scores are about 70-75 on our test. Our test is pretty well the same as what it was 15 years ago, and I reckon the average scores are 55. So I think I don't have the solution, but the kids aren't coming out with the same level of knowledge and skills and understanding. They might have different knowledge, skills, than what they're coming out with now, right? So that's what I'm saying is, think differently. What are they coming out with that they didn't have back then? But just based on test scores, it's dropped a lot. It's really dropped a lot.
Are you getting a good flow of kids from interested in or coming into plumbing and roofing from non-technical colleges? Because you know, I don't like I've talked to kids at, like, say for instance, like Pulteney Grammar. I did a talk there a few weeks ago. I mean, I guess that's a bit different, but there's not many kids at schools like that who would even have plumbing in their mind, because their parents are, like, obviously just not pushing it, and nor is the school.
And this happened to me a long time ago, probably 12 years ago. I was asked by one of the more prestigious colleges to come out and, you know, do a night there. It was after hours when I did it. No worries. I would have kids come up and wanting to chat about plumbing and roofing and, you know, what TAPS could offer. And in front of me, they were getting dragged away by their parents. Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's changed. I won't go back to that school, because it was a waste of my time that, you know, people were doing that, and to me it showed disrespect to me and TAPS and the industry as a whole. I hope people aren't doing that, because we both know how great this industry is, and there's opportunities for all types. Yeah, there really is, but I don't know what schools are doing differently. I won't say wrong, because it's just different, but the kids have changed. But also, is that the school, or is that the environment that we're faced with now, with, you know, social media and the stuff we spoke about earlier?
Influences or something. It's different options.
Often the solution to a problem isn't just one thing. You know, it's a combination of things. So, but there's still great people out there. You know, there really is. There really is great people, and for me, it's not about skills. It's not about knowledge. It's not always about. Well, it's not about a test score. If you can find a great person, I believe that, you know, you or another great, you know, tradesperson can turn them into something if they're a great person. Yeah. That's always what I was looking for when interviewing people, was you find a great person and you can turn them into anything. Whereas you get someone that's come with, you know, great skills but, you know, unreliable and you know, of bad character, then I'll take that great person all day, any day, and teach them and skill them up and make them what they can be. You know? Yeah,
it's like you can teach skills, but you can't teach attitude.
No.
Yeah, so you're always
100%.
hiring an attitude, man.
100%.
We're doing the same with apprentices. Like
100%.
And that's something that's probably important for apprentices to know, is like, no one expects you to know how to use a spanner.
No.
But we're just looking for attitude.
That's it.
So we can teach you all the other shit.
That's what apprenticeship is. It's about learning over 4 years. And yes, you need to, you know, sort of pay your way and work hard and do that stuff. But, you know, you're not expected to learn everything. And that's where, you know, maybe yourself and other people, other business owners, you know, just, I think you get it, but, you know, just take a step back and go, yeah, I was there once, right? I didn't know it all on the first day. I didn't know it on my first week or my first month, my first year. You keep learning, you know, and the day you think you've stopped learning is probably the day you die. Yeah. So you learn every day, and just a bit of patience and a bit of understanding. And if you get that buy-in from the apprentice, then be patient with them, because they're probably a good person, and give them a crack, you know.
And just lastly, Luke, can you touch on, I guess, with, you know, all these announcements with the government, with, like, you know, 24,000 homes, and, you know, what are you seeing now with the demand and opportunities for apprentices in both plumbing and roofing? Yeah. And I guess, where do you and TAPS see the future demand? Like, what is? I guess I'd love to just, for you, if you could just touch on what the opportunity in the landscape looks like out there for these potential apprentices in the next 5 to 10 year horizon.
Yeah. Look, I said this, it was probably, you know, 5, 6 years ago. Our biggest threat was going to be the subs. It was going to be down at North Haven. You know, they're going to have all the fancy ads and the billboards, and, you know, all the pro-med gear, and all the career nights and things like that. You know, they're going to be sucking away all these kids from the construction industry. They are, and if it's not them, it'll be the mines. So there's a way that, you know, we're doing it. We're getting out to the schools and we're selling the story, and, you know, we're getting out the career nights, and we're talking to vet teachers and doing the yards. But the more that we can band together to do that, the stronger we'll be. You know. But yeah, I saw it as our biggest threat then, and it's probably our biggest threat now. Yeah. Yeah.
And opportunities going forward for kids. It seems like
it's not slowing down, mate.
It's not, is it?
You know, and you know, you know this better than me, but, you know, our numbers are still growing. You know, they're growing steadily. We're in a business where we only hold on to our apprentices for 4 years, they drop off. You know, so it's not like that. You know, we start with 100 and we take on another one. We got 101. You know, we probably had 2 finish at the same time. So, you know, I think we took on, you know, might have been 140, 150 people last year. So there's opportunities and they're continuing, and we've just got to. Our role is to support industry, and when you ring and you need someone, you know, make sure that we've done the recruitment prior to that, so we can try and have someone there for you. So we're a bit of a follower in that way, you know. So we've just got to make sure we're prepared for when you guys and when government are ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you seeing just still host employers screaming for more? We need more apprentices. We need.
It's probably balanced a little bit. There was a point last year where it was just we just cannot find anyone. It's probably balanced a bit now, but we've still got, you know, people that, you know, they might not be screaming, but they're like, I need one, you know, and have you found one yet, you know? So, but you know, we don't recruit on a job. If you rung us today and said, look, I need someone, we don't put a CCAT up and, you know, wait for a 4-week recruitment process. You know, we are recruiting every day.
Yeah,
we're getting applications and interviewing, you know, twice a week. You know, that is a continual thing, so that we've got the supply there when you need it. So yeah, that's others might work different, but that's sort of how we do it.
I think that's actually, I was going to touch on that. That's a definite advantage of a group training is like you're doing that pre-vetting and that pre-screening of kids. You know what to look for. Whereas opposed if you want to go and get one direct, it's a 5 or 6 or 8 week process, and then you got to screen out all the. You know, so that's a definite.
And what advantage. The fielders, what I did and the fieldies do now is, you know, they get to know your business and they get to know what type of person is going to fit with you. You know, it might be a AAA apprentice that is somewhere else down the road, but for you, it's just not right fit for some reason. You know, so by getting to know you and your personality and the personality of your trades, often, you know, I would find someone and go, I just see you with Matt. Like, you are just perfect. You know? And I'd ring you and go, look, you might not need anyone, but you gotta interview this person. Like that, they are just the right fit for you. You know, so and then the trust would come from you to me to go, you know what, I trust him. Yeah, we probably don't need someone, but I can't let him go either, or her. You know what I mean? So that's probably the other part of our business that's underestimated a little bit is when we get to know you, we know what you need, then we can find that right fit whether you're ready for it or not. You know, because we are doing those interviews all the time. Yeah,
definitely. Lastly, where can people find you guys? And I just thought, you know, is there any events coming up or anything that people need to know about, like careers events or anything like that they can find you guys?
We've got a couple of schools coming up. The TAPS Awards is, I think it's the 9th of August. So those apprentices that have finished in the last sort of 12, 14 months, they'll get an invite. If they haven't got it already, they'll come along with their families, and we put on a bit of a show for them. Very stoked to have Kurt Fearnley as our guest speaker this year.
Oh, that's huge.
Been trying to get him
he's awesome.
Been trying to get him for about 4 years and it just hasn't matched up. But you know, this is a bloke that crawled Kokoda in his hands. He's like, you know, if you think you're having a bad day, if you think life's hard, then you know, come listen to this bloke because he's unreal.
Yeah,
you know, that's
100%.
That's resilience and that's leadership. That guy. So I'm hopeful that he'll put on a bit of a show for those apprentices finished, and our award winners who will be notified soon of winning the awards. But yeah, 9th of August, I reckon. Apart from that, nothing that springs to mind.
Okay. So, and what, they just hit you up on the socials and the
website? Tapssa.com.au. We've got a new website. It's nice and clean and fresh, and click apply now. Chuck your details in, and we're keen to talk to you and join the industry. It's really good. It
is.
It's really rewarding when you put in the work. You know. But if you're looking for I say just a job or something that you can just do for a short period of time, it's not for you.
It's a career, isn't it?
It's a career and a good one. It can take you so many different places. You know, it really can. And I've seen that with some of my apprentices. You know, it's taken them overseas. It's taken them to project management. It's taken into HR. It's taken, you know, Richie, who I was talking about before, is our wellbeing. It's ex-apprentice. You know, so it can take you in so many different places.
And last, that's what I think. Just to finish on is a good note is that it isn't like you said before, but they think it might just be touching shit or whatever. But and even just beyond that, it's not. It's so much more. Like you can go anywhere, man.
You can go through your whole apprenticeship and not touch.
Yeah.
If that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
You might not see it. You might not go anywhere near it. Right?
Yeah.
That's not what this is. It's building the state. That's the bulk of it. And it's fixing the state. It's fixing homes. It's making people's lives run again. Probably not a problem you've ever faced, but your hot water goes out. It's the end of the world when you got 3 kids and a wife that all want to get in the shower. And
100%.
who comes and fixes that? The plumber. The plumber fixes that. It changes your mood, your life, everything straight away.
Yeah.
The hospital doesn't get built without plumbers. The high rises, the buildings, whatever it is, they're critical.
And
critical.
and that's what I want to say is, like you said, is it's important for them to know, like, it is a career. Like you said, it's like you could be a hydraulic designer afterwards, work for SA Water as an inspector. Like, there's just, you can go into the mines, go overseas. It's
Whatever.
Endless. So
go do something else.
Get in touch with Paps. I can do that. All right, mate.
Easy.
Thanks a lot for
coming.
coming.
Been good fun. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right.
Nice. All right. Cool.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for tuning in to another Plumbify podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the usual podcast platforms.